In 1912, Bobby Dunbar, age 4, was playing along the edge of Swayze Lake in Louisiana. And then he was gone, with every inch of that shoreline, every road, every field for miles searched, and not a single trace of a child found anywhere. That is the problem. But it is not the only problem. Bobby Dunbar was the son of Percy and Leslie Dunbar, a respectable family in Opelousas, Louisiana. The summer of 1912 was ordinary in every way. Dunbars had taken a trip to Swayze Lake, a wide, shallow body of water surrounded by swamp and flat farmland, well-traveled by local families on weekends. Bobby was 4 years old, brown hair, small build. He liked to wander the way 4-year-olds do. On August 23, 1912, while the family was setting up their campsite, Bobby walked away from the group. His parents turned. He was there, then he was not. The distance between those two moments was no more than a few minutes. It was mid-afternoon. The lake was not deserted. Other families were nearby. Farm workers moved through the surrounding fields. Percy Dunbar called Bobby's name. He got no answer. Leslie Dunbar checked the brush at the water's edge, the shallow bank, the gear they had packed. Nothing. The alarm spread quickly. By nightfall, neighbors had joined the search. Local men who knew the swamp walked the entire perimeter. The water was dragged. The reeds were parted by hand. Every fishing shack and tree stand within reach was checked. No footprints leading away from shore. No torn clothing. No blood, no sound, no sighting, no scream heard by anyone present. Children who go into Swayze Lake are found. The water is shallow. The currents are slow. The banks are soft mud, the kind that holds impressions clearly. Bobby Dunbar left no impression. He simply was not where a child could simply disappear to. And that is the problem. The search lasted weeks, then months. Dunbar's posted a reward. Regional papers ran his photograph. Law enforcement canvassed every county road, every train depot, every farm within reasonable distance of the lake. They found nothing that belonged to Bobby, no clothing, no shoe, no toy dropped along a trail. The swamp gave up nothing. The lake gave up nothing. Not one credible witness came forward to say they had seen a small boy that afternoon, moving, carried, or otherwise. The working theory was abduction. Someone had taken Bobby. Quickly, quietly, without being seen, in a place where other people were present, in broad afternoon light. On soft ground, it made no sense. But it was the only explanation the evidence allowed, because the evidence across 8 months of searching had allowed almost nothing at all. Then in April 1913, a man named William Cantwell Walters was found traveling through Mississippi with a young boy. The boy was roughly Bobby's age, brown hair, thin. A woman in the town of Hub reported that Walters appeared to be using the child as a laborer, having him carry tools, beg at farmhouse doors. Walters was arrested. The boy was taken into state custody. The Dunbar family was contacted immediately. Percy and Leslie made the trip to Mississippi. They looked at the boy, and they said, "That is Bobby." The police closed the file. Walters was charged with kidnapping. The town of Opelousas held a celebration. Bobby Dunbar was home, but there was a woman in North Carolina named Julia Anderson. Julia Anderson came forward the moment Walters was arrested. She said the boy was not Bobby Dunbar. She said he was her son, Bruce Anderson. She said Walters had worked near her home, asked if he could take Bruce along on the road for company, and she had agreed. She was brought to see the boy. She said, "That is my Bruce." The Dunbars said she was lying. Walters was convicted regardless. The boy was raised in Opelousas as Bobby Dunbar. Julia Anderson returned home without her child. If that is who he was, this is where the story should end. It does not. Remember the boy who vanished from the lake? No footprints, no clothing, no witnesses. Remember that the Dunbar family searched for 8 months and found absolutely nothing. Now remember what Percy and Leslie said when they saw that boy in Mississippi. They said, "That is him." In 2004, a man named Robert Dunbar Jr., who believed he was Bobby Dunbar's grandson, agreed to DNA testing alongside descendants of Bruce Anderson, Julia Anderson's son. The results were unambiguous. The man who came home to Opelousas in 1913 was not Bobby Dunbar. He was someone else entirely. The real Bobby Dunbar, the 4-year-old who wandered from the water's edge on August 23, 1912, was never found. No body, no confirmed record, no sighting that held up to scrutiny. He was gone as completely as if the ground at Swayze Lake had opened and closed behind him. The case remains open in official records. No suspect has ever been charged with taking the real Bobby Dunbar. No remains have been recovered. No explanation exists for what happened that afternoon at the lake. So where is Bobby Dunbar? And if the child who came home was not Bobby, then who is buried in his grave?